I'm taking you back to the 1940s, when a Mexican immigrant in the United States set out to create the country's first radio station designed to broadcast only in Spanish. It's the 15th of February 1946, and from today, Spanish speakers in the United States finally have a place on the dial. It's a station offering music, news, and shows in their own language. The station's named KCOR, and behind it we find Raoul Cortez, a Mexican immigrant in his early 40s.
My father just had primary education, but he had big dreams, and his dreams came true.
This is Irma Cortez Nicolás, Raúl's youngest daughter.
He was a founder of the Spanish radio in the United States, and then founder of the television station.
But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Creating a foreign language radio station was challenging enough. We'll hear this story from two people, Irma, who recorded this interview with the Voces Oral History Center a few years before she died, and her youngest son, who I spoke to.
I'm Guillermo Nicolás, the grandson of Raúl Cortez. My grandfather was born into a family of 8, 7 brothers, including himself, and a sister. Their father was very tough, and at age 13, 14, 15 at the latest, he would send each boy out into the world.
He had a little wagon, and he sold fresh eggs, fresh vegetables. At those days, it was not as expensive to live, but my grandparents told me he had to have a better job to be able to get my mother to marry him. So then what he did was he crossed the border. No papers, just as Mexicans, and they came here, and they were recognized then and allowed to live here.
Raúl built quite a varied resume.
My grandfather was a reporter for La Prensa. He also worked as a window dresser, and then he would go and work as a promoter. He would bring bands and groups to play at the Buckhorn Saloon.
And he kept adding new roles. He became an airtime broker. He could buy blocks of time on local stations for a flat fee, and he would then resell time slots to performers and advertisers.
He got his start by doing whatever he needed to do to raise money, to then go and rent airtime on a local English language radio station, and he would produce perhaps an hour of Spanish language entertainment and news, and it just was such a huge success, and it was so desperately needed by the community.
He did so well that he decided 1 hour wasn't enough. He needed a whole station. So he applied for a license at the U.S. Federal Communications Commission, the FCC.
The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan.
With World War II unfolding, authorities across the U.S. were cautious about non-English radio. Raúl had to argue his initiative could actually help win support for the war among Mexican Americans. Still, he didn't get his license until 1946, once the war was over. He began broadcasting, but money remained a challenge.
It was fun. Los Días de las Madres, las serenatas.
As Irma explains here, serenatas or serenades were a source of income. People would pay to dedicate songs and greetings to their lovers on Valentine's Day and their mothers on Mother's Day. But it wasn't enough.
His station was 1350 on the dial, so way down the dial, and you had to look for it. They faced a lot of racism, a lot of bigotry, a lot of challenges in trying to get the station actually open. And then, of course, they faced the problem of the advertising, because without money, there is no business.
Pepsi Cola hit the spot. 12 full ounces, that's a lot.
But Raoul had a few tricks up his sleeve. One of them was to ask his audience to send labels of the products they used, like soaps or drinks, back to the manufacturers on KCOR's behalf.
Great new discovery, Airwick.
In those days, the rating systems didn't even rate us. We didn't even count. One of the ways my grandfather was able to prove that he had a big listenership was to have them send these labels, and they were flooded with them. It was terrific.
Another trick was to display his charm, and he'd spare no money in doing it.
So he went to New York, and he knocked on every advertising agency's door. They had all dismissed him. They didn't know any Spanish speakers. They certainly didn't, know who he was, and he was coming from a city from Texas, and it was one radio station. And so he invited these guys to El Morocco. He had never been there. He just knew it was very popular. He went down to the club, and the maitre d' was a gentleman of Puerto Rican descent, a Spanish speaker, and he gave him $100, which in that time was a lot of money. And he told him, I need a VIP table. I need you to greet us like I've been here many times, and I'm one of your best clients. And they get there that night, puts on his tuxedo, and walks in with these advertising agency guys. And the gentleman greets him like he'd been there 1,000 times, takes them to the best table, champagne everywhere. And the next day, they were so impressed that they bought advertising on this little station in San Antonio, Texas. So he sold national advertising, which then made him very wealthy, and he was able to then build the other radio stations.
But running KCOR wasn't only about money. Once he was successful, Raoul used his influence to support civil rights movements and court cases related to Mexican Americans. In fact, he was president of the League of United Latin American Citizens twice.
We used to go from San Antonio to New Braunfels to Seguin to all these little towns, German towns, where they discriminated the Mexicans. We had a very bad experience that we stopped at a restaurant in New Braunfels then, and they wouldn't allow my mother or my sister because they had darker skin than I did, and then my father. As Mexican Americans, we were discriminated, and this is why my father took it very serious about the Spanish radio and television to educate our own people. They should defend themselves, and the airwaves are ours.
That was Irma Cortez Nicolas, the daughter of Raúl Cortez, who was the founder of KCOR, the first Spanish-language radio in the U.S. He also went on to create the country's first TV network in Spanish. But as his grandson says,
that was another big fight that we can save for another time.
That was Guillermo Nicolas. He was speaking to me, Stefania Gotzer, for Witness History from the BBC World Service. Please let your friends know about Witness History. And if you're interested in hearing more personal stories about Mexican Americans, why not listen to our episode about the Braceros? It was a scheme to bring Mexican workers to the U.S. legally, and guess what? Raúl Cortez was one of the people who lobbied to get it signed. And while you're listening, make sure you hit subscribe wherever you get your BBC podcasts. Thank you for listening. Bye.
A moment in time captured by what they heard.
I heard some people making phone calls.
Okay, which runway would you like at Teterboro?
We're going to be in the...
What they saw.
I put my head down. I saw the movie of my life started going through my head.
What they smelt.
I still remember the smell of the fresh fish.
And I completely lost my appetite.
Moments captured which last for a lifetime.
Scientists have made the atomic bomb.
That sort of flash set on fire the birds, and they all fell down without their feathers on.
The way was clear for Hitler to realize all his demonic plans.
Stories from people with first-hand accounts of events that have shaped our world.
At the end, Kissinger called me into his office and he said, "You did a good job." I left the office with tears in my eyes.
She called me and told me, "I'm doing Studio 54. She had already become a star in Paris. She came back a superstar.